flickered in the silence of Kael's chamber. He sat alone, a man haunted by victories that felt like defeats. The scrolls of Rome lay scattered across the table, symbols of power and deception. Then his hand touched something strange, an old leather notebook hidden beneath other documents. The moment he opened it, the air grew colder, as if the shadows themselves leaned in to listen. Inside were words that should never have been written, confessions, strategies, betrayals. Kael's pulse quickened. This was no ordinary record. It was a map of treachery, proof that the path he had walked was never his own. And with every line, Kael would be dragged back into a past where his father, Felix, fought to stand against Rome's corruption, and where the roots of betrayal reached deeper than Kael had ever imagined. Stay with us. What you will see is the unraveling of a life built on lies, a revelation so devastating it will shake the very foundations of Kael's soul.
Kael's chamber was silent, except for the faint rustle of parchment. He had spent days drowning in reports, memoranda, speeches, Rome's endless politics pressed onto parchment. But tonight, something called to him. A corner of worn leather peeked from beneath a stack of documents. He pulled it free, brushing away the dust. It was heavy, bound in faded hide, its edges frayed. A senator's notebook. His thumb hesitated before opening it. Inside, the ink had bled with age, but the words remained sharp as daggers. He read the first page, and his stomach clenched. Felix must be removed. He stands too proud, too dangerous. If Scarpus fails to win him, then another path must be chosen. Kael's breath caught. Felix, his father, was spoken of as an obstacle, not a man. He turned the page with trembling hands. If the Senate will not bend, it must break. Scarpus offers blood. I offer patience. Together, we will see Rome's future. The name was not written in full, but Kael knew the handwriting. His heart froze. The elegant, measured strokes belonged to the senator who saved him from the galleys, the man who gave him a place in politics, the man he had called an ally, the very man he trusted most. Kael slammed the book shut, his chest heaving. His mind replayed every memory. The whispers of guidance, the promises of loyalty, the quiet smiles. Were they all lies? Was he nothing but a pawn in a larger game? He forced the book open again, desperate for answers. The entries told a story hidden beneath Rome's marble facades. Meetings in torchlit halls, secret votes whispered in corridors, knives drawn in silence. And always, Felix was at the center, first as a threat, then as a target, finally as a sacrifice. Kael's hand shook so violently he nearly dropped the book. Rage boiled in him, but also shame. He thought of the man he had killed, the senator he believed guilty. But these pages whispered otherwise. That man may have been innocent. Kael had been deceived, guided to spill blood that did not deserve to be spilled. The candlelight quivered as Kael leaned back, pressing the notebook to his chest. his father's death, his own suffering, his rise from slave to gladiator to politician. It was all entwined in a web spun by this so-called ally. Kael's jaw tightened. The truth was more unbearable than chains. He had killed wrongly. He had fought blindly. And now he saw the face of the true enemy.
The notebook's words blurred before Kael's eyes, dragging him back into the past. He could almost hear it, the marble echo of the Senate chamber, the murmuring voices of men draped in togas, the sharp scent of burning oil. Felix stood at the center, his figure proud, his jaw set. His toga flowed like a banner of defiance as he raised his voice. Rome is rotting from within. You sit here in your marble seats speaking of order and stability. But what order is built upon lies? What stability comes from men who sell Rome's soul to greed? The senators shifted uneasily. Some whispered to one another. Others turned away, unwilling to meet his eyes. But a few, the powerful few, stared back with cold contempt. You call me reckless, you call me dangerous, but I am the only one who dares speak the truth. Scarpus seeks to turn our legions into his personal blade, and you, yes, you, would hand him that power because you fear him more than you love Rome. A murmur of anger rippled through the chamber. One senator rose, his voice dripping with disdain. Felix, you disgrace this hall. You speak not for Rome, but for your pride. If you cannot bend to Rome's will, then perhaps Rome has no place for you. Felix's face hardened. His eyes, sharp as steel, scanned the chamber. He saw no allies, only shadows. Even those who once stood with him now lowered their heads. Betrayal already seeped through these marble walls. Then hear this, Felix declared, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. If Rome will not stand for honor, then Rome will fall, and you, each of you, will bear the shame. His words hung in the air, heavy, unyielding. For a moment, there was silence. Then the chamber erupted, shouts, accusations, jeers. Felix turned his back on them, his sandals echoing against the marble floor. His departure was not quiet, it was a storm. Outside, the night embraced him with a chill. He walked through the torch-lit streets, his heart pounding with fury and sorrow. His faith in Rome wavered, but his resolve did not. He would fight, even if alone. From the shadows, unseen eyes watched him. A plan was already in motion, and Felix had just sealed his fate.
Felix's footsteps echoed through the empty streets. The air was damp, heavy with the scent of rain. He wrapped his toga tighter around him, but it could not shield him from the cold weight pressing against his chest. Then, from the darkness, a figure emerged, Scarpus. His armor glinted faintly in the moonlight, though he wore no helm, only the confidence of a man who thrived in shadows. Felix, Scarpus greeted,
his voice smooth, controlled. "Rome has turned its back on you, but I offer you something greater." Felix's eyes narrowed. "You speak as if you know my heart." "I know your strength," Scarpus replied, stepping closer. "And I know your enemies. Join me, and together we will sweep them aside. The Senate is weak, fractured. With your support, I can bring order, true order to Rome, and your enemies gone. Felix, you will not just protect your family, you will rise with me." Felix clenched his fists. "Order through fear is not Rome, it is tyranny." Scarpus smirked. "Tyranny is a word used by the powerless. You are not powerless, Felix, but alone you soon will be." The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Felix shook his head. "I will never bow to you. My loyalty is to Rome, not to a man who seeks to chain her." Scarpus's smile faded, replaced by a colder expression. "Then your loyalty will be your undoing." Without another word, Scarpus vanished into the night, leaving Felix standing alone. The shadows seemed deeper now, the streets narrower, as if Rome itself was closing in on him. Unbeknownst to Felix, another set of eyes followed him that night. Another man who had no armor, no sword, only ambition, patience, and poison.
Felix walked alone, the echo of Scarpus's words gnawing at his mind. He tried to shake them off, but the silence of Rome at night was filled with whispers, real or imagined. He turned a corner into a narrow alley where the torches burned low, their flames sputtering in the damp air. From the shadows, another figure stepped forward. This man wore no armor. His cloak was simple, his face calm, his voice measured. A senator, one who had sat quietly as Felix was ridiculed in the chamber earlier that evening. "Felix," the senator said, his tone soft, persuasive, "you stand proud, but you stand alone. Rome has turned from you, but I would not." Felix narrowed his eyes. "You?" The senator nodded slowly. "Yes, I believe in your vision. Rome is sick, and only men of conviction can heal her. But Scarpus is not wrong in one thing. Power is necessary. Without it, ideals are nothing but words carried away on the wind." Felix studied him carefully. "You offer support? Why? At what cost?" The senator stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "I offer Rome's future. Together, you and I could rally those who still believe in honor. But Scarpus must be dealt with. His ambition will destroy everything. And there is another. Felix, your friend, your fellow senator, the one you trust most, he is not what he seems. He plots with Scarpus. He smiles in daylight and stabs in darkness. Remove him, and Rome may yet be saved." Felix's chest tightened. The words fell heavy. Could it be true? Could the man he trusted be so treacherous? The senator pressed on, his voice like silk. "Do this, and you will not stand alone. I will bring others. I will give you the power you need to protect your family. Rome will see you not as a loud voice in the chamber, but as a leader." Felix hesitated. He thought of Kael. He thought of his wife. He thought of the Rome he loved. If betrayal festered in the Senate, perhaps this was the only way. Perhaps blood was the only answer left. But he said nothing. He turned away, lost in thought, his mind caught between honor and survival. Kael's fingers trembled as he turned another page of the notebook. His eyes devoured the words, but each sentence was a knife. The truth was undeniable now. His father had been lured, cornered, and betrayed, not by strangers, but by those closest to him. The passage detailed Felix's turmoil after that midnight meeting. He had written of his doubts, his fear, his sense of isolation. He questioned himself, questioned Rome, questioned the very men who sat beside him in the Senate. And then came the final entry. "I will meet him tomorrow. If he speaks true, then perhaps there is still hope. But if lies spill from his mouth, I will know the truth, and I will be ready." Kael slammed the book shut, fury coursing through him. The senator, that senator, the one who had saved Kael from the galleys, the one who offered him friendship, the one who guided his every step. It was him! He was the poison in Felix's life. He had twisted Kael's path, manipulated his choices, and led him to kill an innocent man. Kael rose to his feet, pacing the chamber. Rage clawed at his throat, but beneath it lay despair. He thought of his father's last words, of his courage, of the pride he carried even in the face of betrayal. And Kael thought of himself, lost in blood, chained by lies, walking a path not of his own making. He pressed his hands against the table, bowing his head. "Father, forgive me. I was blind." The candle flickered violently, as if the very air shook with his anguish. Kael's jaw hardened. There could be no forgiveness, only justice, and justice demanded blood. Kael could not sleep that night. The notebook remained open before him, its pages whispering like ghosts. He imagined his father walking those dark streets, torn between choices. He imagined the senator and the shadows, smiling, waiting, weaving his web. The memory of his own mistakes cut deeper now. He remembered the senator's words when he first freed him from the galleys. "You have a gift, Kael. A man like you should not rot in chains." How sweet those words had sounded then, how venomous they felt now. Every step of his journey replayed in his mind. The gladiator's sands, the blood he spilled, the alliances he forged, all of it guided by unseen strings. He was no hero. He was a puppet. Kael clenched his fists until his knuckles whitened. "No more," he whispered. The vision of his father returned to him. Felix standing proud in the Senate, defiant, unbending. Felix refusing Scarpus's offer, refusing to bow. His father had been strong. Kael had to be stronger. He looked down at the notebook one last time, then closed it firmly. Its truth was carved into his soul now. He would not let it break him. He would use it. But even as resolve burned within him, doubt lingered. What else had been twisted?
How deep did the lies go, and could he ever trust again? The candle burned low, its wax spilling like blood across the table. Kael's eyes never left the shadows. Tomorrow, everything would change.
Dawn broke over Rome, but to Kael, the light brought no comfort. He stood at the balcony of his chamber, staring at the city. Its marble temples and golden rooftops gleamed in the sun, but beneath them lay rot, betrayal, ambition, and blood. The notebook was clutched in his hand, its weight heavy with truths too dark to ignore. He thought of the senator, the man who had guided him, who had smiled at him, who had spoken of honor. A liar, a murderer, a serpent who whispered poison into every ear. Kael's heart raged. He remembered the senator he had already slain, believing him guilty. That man's blood was on his hands, spilled unjustly. The guilt burned him like fire. But this time, there would be no mistake. This time, his blade would strike true. He spoke aloud, his voice low, resolute. You took my father. You twisted my path. You made me a killer of the innocent. Now I will end you. The city below stirred to life, merchants shouting, citizens bustling, senators riding in their litters. To them, it was another day. To Kael, it was the beginning of vengeance. The shadows had ruled too long. Rome needed truth, and Kael would carve it into stone with blood. The story of Kael is just beginning. Even darker secrets and greater battles await. Don't miss the next episode. Subscribe now.